Today marks the 49th anniversary of the day 29 sailors aboard the Edmund Fitzgerald lost their lives in a storm on Lake Superior, many of whom came from Toledo. Laura Sandlin joins us in studio. So, Laura, you traveled to the Museum of the Great Lakes today. I understand they're doing something special to commemorate the day.
Yeah, Michael, that's right. Today, the museum took people on tours of the Colonel James Schoonmaker, a ship built by the shipyard that also built the Edmund Fitzgerald. And they're said to be very similar. Aboard the Schoonmaker, a guide shared the history of ship freighting in Toledo and across the Great Lakes, focusing on the Edmund Fitzgerald's role in particular. The ship's first voyage across the freshwater seas was in 1958, and for the next 17 years, the 729-foot ship sailed iron ore to different ports, benefiting local economies, including Toledo's. So much so, it was nicknamed the Toledo Express. It continued on until November 10, 1975, and that was the night that the mighty vessel was caught in a storm on Lake Superior, and it sank to the bottom, killing all souls on board. While there are many theories as to what happened, it's unknown what specifically led the ship to sink. And one guest who drove nearly 2 hours says the mystery is part of its story.
I think that's part of what makes it so interesting to me is like Amelia Earhart's wreck. When she wrecked, nobody knows really what happened or where she's at. It's kind of a mystery that plays into the history that makes it more appealing.
Next year will mark 50 years since the ship sunk outside of Whitefish Bay, and a tour guide from the museum tells me they plan to make next year's experience extra special for the guests. You can watch the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society's Edmund Fitzgerald Memorial Ceremony live on WTOL 11 Plus at 7 p.m. or on demand at on WTOL Plus. Reporting in studio, Laura Sandlin, WTOL 11.
And the weather played a role in the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, or the Fitz. And of course, that local connection that Laura mentioned includes the entire crew of 29 lost their lives during that shipwreck that happened 49 years ago today. And that includes Captain McSorley, among others, who were from the Toledo area. This ship traversed the Great Lakes from Wisconsin down to Detroit and Toledo, shipping that iron ore. So a few quick facts on the Fitz. The year it was built was 1958. And at the time, it cost over $8 million to build. You can imagine how expensive that would be in today's terms. The top speed of the Edmund Fitzgerald was a little over 14 knots, which equates to a little over 16 miles per hour. A typical round trip on the Great Lakes took 5 days, and that extends all the way from Duluth back towards the Great Lakes and back. So we are looking at 5 days to get to Toledo and back. The length was 729 feet, and the crew, 29, each and every single one of them passed away during that shipwreck. There was a strong storm in the Great Lakes, an area of low pressure. The Fitz departed Duluth, Minnesota on November 9th. You can see there that blue dot indicates the start of the voyage. Now, this low pressure system brought gale force winds. The saying the gales in November has some historical validity to it, as we saw in 1975. That low moved through the northern Great Lakes and up into Canada. That storm track over Lake Superior was really ideal for creating the strongest winds, which unfortunately did not fare well for the Fitz, which despite its length of 729 feet did not end well.